Welcome back to Screen Preach for episode 41. If I'm looking at it from that side, right? 4-1? Yeah. 41. Yeah, we're back. And we have an all-new episode with a new movie to talk about and an all-new episode of WandaVision to talk about. Episode 6 recap. We will be talking about a pretty interesting film that I watched this week that came out in theaters, actually, and then is now out available for anyone to watch. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first, in the name of the Godfather, the Son, Odin, and the Holy Jedi, how's everybody doing? How's your week been? What have you been watching? What have you been eating? What have you been drinking? What have you been? Last week, I just want to follow up on a couple things, because last week, we'll get to the news of the week. We'll get to the news of the week soon, and I just wanted to bring up some things that I forgot last week real quick. I forgot to mention the Wakanda series. Disney Plus is doing Marvel's doing a Wakanda series with Ryan Coogler attached, the director of Black Panther. Will be doing a series on Disney Plus based in Wakanda. Who it's about, what the time period is, we still don't know. But either way, it expands the story of Wakanda. And the story of Wakanda does go beyond T'Challa, but the biggest thing about Black Panther 2 will obviously be T'Challa's legacy, Chadwick Boseman's legacy, and how they handle that. That's got to be handled properly. But it's cool. Definitely awesome that we're going to get yet another interesting title from Marvel and Disney+. And then also, when I was talking about the WandaVision recap last week, I started talking about a little hint, a little possible Easter egg that I didn't actually expand on it. Monica, she mentions a aerospace engineer, and there was a lot of talk that could potentially be a nod to Reed Richards. Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, possibly a little hint of his introduction coming soon. But let's talk about this week's episode of WandaVision. Let's just jump right into the recap, because there was a lot of cool stuff this week too. Another really awesome episode, and the hype is killing everybody here. We just want to know what the fuck's really going on, right? But real quick, following up on last week, big bombshell dropped on us, right? Spoilers, again, spoilers for last week and this week. You know the deal. Quicksilver came back, right? But not the Quicksilver from the MCU played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Rather, the Quicksilver from Fox's X-Men universe played by Evan Peters. He showed up. Now, did they expand much on that in this episode? No. But they did have some interesting conversations, Wanda and Pietro, that may have hinted at some things, okay? Real quick, though. Last week, I said I wasn't 100% sure if Wanda's behind everything. After seeing episode 6, I'm pretty sure Wanda is behind everything. The thing is, things are happening that she isn't in control of, but that she inadvertently caused, by doing what she did in the first place. That's what I think's going on here. It's really getting cool, man. It's a lot of cool stuff's going on. First of all, I just wanted to, real quick, Wanda and Vision's kids, Tommy and Billy Maximoff. First of all, they're very important characters for the future of this saga. Very, very potentially. They become young Avengers in the comics. And if you didn't know them from the comics, and I didn't read the comics, but I know about them. I know a lot of history about the comics, a lot of details about the comics, so I knew who Tommy and Billy were, but I didn't know the extent of... I actually didn't know that these were the real Tommy and Billy. I wasn't, sure, this is Speed and Wakan, right? Those are the superhero names that they have when they're older. It's Speed and Wakan, and they are very key young Avengers in the comics. And this week, we got to see their powers for the first time. And let me tell you, if we get to the end of this little storyline here, and Billy and Tommy don't make it because of this whole Hex thing not really being real or something, that's going to suck, because we need those characters. Now that we've been introduced to them, they're important for later. I think something's going to happen here. It's going to be pretty crazy that some things are able to exist in the real world, some things aren't. But at the end of the day, here we got to see some cool stuff. Quicksilver running around really fast, and then the kids developing their powers. Tommy and Billy, speed with he's got super speed as well, and Wakan, he's got like telekinetic abilities similar to Wanda, but a little bit different, and that was cool. And this was a Halloween themed episode, so everybody was dressed in like like an homage comic accurate version of their costumes. Even the kids looked like they were wearing their costumes from the comics a little bit. Quicksilver, Wanda, Vision, they were all wearing like costumes that were like more like their comic costumes, which was cool. The big thing with Pietro right now is some of the things, the way he's talking, it seems like he could just be another random person that Wanda pulled in here to play her brother, right? But if that were the case, here's what I think. If that were the case, why can he run? Why can he run really fast? Like, he still has his powers, right? So it's more likely we actually did get the Pietro from the X-Men universe pulled into this one, and at the same time he is playing the role of the MCU's Pietro, because he has all of the MCU's Pietro's memories, not the other Pietro's memories from the X-Men movies, right? But also just the way that he said, I got shot in the street for no reason, and then I heard you calling me, and now I'm here. It's weird, because first of all, that's weird in and of itself, because getting shot in the street for no reason is not at all what happened. In fact, it was the exact opposite. Pietro sacrificed himself. It wasn't for no reason. When he was shot to death by Ultron at the Battle of Sokovia, he was sacrificing himself for Clint and some innocent kid, right? He sacrificed himself for Hawkeye and a kid. And that is... So the fact that he would say for no reason, and then I heard you calling me, and then so I came... It's almost like Pietro from the X-Men movies was... Like, something happened. I'm telling you, he just was, like, pulled into this reality. We still don't have 100% answers. We're not going to have until the end. But theorizing is the best part. And I think, like I said last week, whatever this new level of power is that Wanda has tapped into in herself, because this is all from her. Like, she's extremely powerful. She's top 3 most powerful of all the superheroes in this story, of all of it ever. Like, top 3, and this might even, she could be number 1 even. It's Captain Marvel, okay, maybe Thor, like, it's very, but I think Wanda, I mean, and this, whatever she's created, this whole thing, it's like her powers now, she can alter reality, and when she's doing that, she's also altering things on a molecular level and a cellular level, like they say in the episode. Like, the biggest thing that was really cool to see was that they showed Monica that her cells have been altered by being inside the hex. So big setup right there. It's going to be Wanda's altering of reality and things on a cellular level that are going to cause Monica to get her superpowers. Because in the comics, Monica Rambeau becomes a superhero. She gets superpowers similar to Captain Marvel's. And I think this whole cellular restructuring thing here that's happening to her because of being in the hex is gonna be how she gets her superpowers. And it's so that right there, who else is it gonna affect? Is it gonna make Vision and her kids be real people in real life? Is it gonna make other people pop in from other realities? Because it's all just like it's some crazy super reality altering power that Wanda has tapped into here. Reality in terms of like the reality we already know, and reality in terms of other realities. My whole concept of, or knowledge of how the multiverse even works is completely shaky. I have no idea what I'm saying. But it'll be really interesting to see how they pay all this stuff off. What else happened? Fucking, she can control distance of this thing, she just like completely made the whole hex move and like start consuming shit at the end of the episode. And she consumed Darcy, by the way. Darcy got pulled in. We don't know what happened to her. Like, we'll see. She's probably just like a character now, right? When we come back in episode 7, she's in the hex as a character. She has no idea what the fuck's going on. Similar to what happened with Monica. But also the big thing was Vision. Vision tried to get out. And when he tried to get out, he couldn't get out. Like, he was falling apart. Like, how similarly to how he was in pieces before she brought him in there. The second he starts trying to come out, he's falling apart into pieces again. So he has to be inside the hex to be alive. This is where it gets, like, what's going to stay, what's going to not stay when things kind of, when she, like, calms down, when she allows this to stop. She needs to stop this. Wanda needs to stop. Because right now she's as much a villain as anybody because of what she's doing. But, with that being said, Sword is not what they seem. Sword is not what they seem. Just even the way the director of Sword, I keep forgetting his name, the way he like calls Monica out about knowing Carol and all that shit. I know your history with Captain Marvel, or with Carol. I know your history with Carol Danvers. No shit, you know her history with Carol Danvers. Her mother was Carol Danvers' best friend. Her mother created Sword. It's a weird kind of thing to throw at Monica. Like, it's a weird, like, shade to throw at Monica. I don't know what he's got something up his sleeve, and they know that something's not right. He's up to something. The fact that he's tracking Vision over everything else, it's very weird. The whole thing is very weird, and we still don't have complete answers, but we are looking forward to getting them as the final 3 episodes come in the next 3 weeks, and we'll see what happens, definitely. But it's been cool, and that was a fun episode too. Big like cliffhangery things. Who's Monica meeting? She said I'm gonna go meet my contact. Who is she meeting? Right? I want to know that. And I want to know just if other people are gonna just pop in. Doctor Strange, is he gonna show up to help? Is like what's gonna? There is an Avenger moment in this at some point. Somebody comes to help fix what's going on here a little bit. Similarly to how Luke Skywalker had his big moment in The Mandalorian at the end of season 2, it's something similar to that. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. This is crazy. Just keeps getting crazier. Definitely the best show to kick off this new saga, because it's all kinds of weird, and weird is what we're... Well, let's talk about the news of the week, though, now. We'll get into that, because there was some cool Marvel stuff, too, to talk about. So we'll do that now. Like last week, Tom Holland, in an interview, said that Spider-Man 3 is the most ambitious Marvel movie ever made. And then this week, he's trying to be like, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are not in this movie. He's playing with us. Come on. I mean, how can it be? I mean, it is already the most ambitious. Look at who's in it. Like, people from other realities. Like, the Doc Ock from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. The Electro from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans. It's already looking ambitious with just that, right? But, I mean, come on. We know that they're going to pop in. It's a live-action Spider-Verse. That's what this movie is. Doctor Strange is in it, too. He's got his multiverse thing. Wanda is setting things up for the multiverse. It's all coming together. So, Tom, you're not fooling anybody. He's trying. He was always the guy who would, like, spoil shit before movies came out. He would spoil shit about, like, Avengers, and he was always... He's not, like, he's really, like, not allowed to do that anymore. Like, he's trying to not spoil things, but he just kind of made us be like, nah, we know you're full of it, dude. Come on. What else? I just wanted to bring this up real quick, because I know people who work at this studio, and so hearts out to you, you know, looking for work and all that kind of stuff, but Disney is shutting down Blue Sky Studios, the studio responsible for the Ice Age films and other films as well. they're like a branch of DreamWorks Animation, and yeah, Disney is shutting them down. I I guess maybe there was a Fox connection there. Did Fox own? Oh, maybe that's it. Did Fox own DreamWorks? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm confused. DreamWorks was Shrek. 20th Century Fox Animation. That's there we go. Fox. 20th Century Fox was Ice Age. So that's yeah. Disney bought Fox. That's how they're even able to have this Quicksilver in WandaVision. And yes, Blue Sky's being absolved. No, is that the word? Yeah, I think that's it. Um, is it? So yeah, just wanted to bring that up. Um, meanwhile, under Meg Griffin's bra, Captain Marvel 2 casts Zhao Ashton as the main villain for Carol Danvers. I think she was in. I don't actually know what she was in. I don't think I've seen her before, but I always love newer actors having their breakouts in Marvel stuff. I didn't know who the hell Tom Holland was before he convinced me he's the best Spider-Man. Which is also why I'm still on board with totally giving us unknowns for all the Fantastic Four characters. Just do all unknown people. You know? Like, it would be more interesting, I think. Anything big with... I'm trying to do all the Marvel stuff, but I'll just go down the line. Game of Thrones creators are teaming with Hugh Jackman for a new series on Netflix called The Overstory. Wait a minute, is that The Overstory, like... Is that the book? Are they books? I don't know The Overstory. I know there's an Overlook series coming based on the Shining Hotel, but that's not what this is. Overstory with Hugh Jackman and the creators of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones creators have a full-on deal with Netflix doing multiple projects. This is one of them. Jack Black to voice Claptrap in Eli Roth's Borderlands movie. Cool. Game of Thrones prequel House of the Dragon adds a few more people to the cast, including a guy you would know from some things. What the hell's his name? I forget. Reese something. Reese Ifrin or Reese... I'm totally off on this. Whatever. The guy you would know. He was the villain in Thor 2. He was in The Leftovers. He was in... is that him? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I am thinking of somebody else. That is totally somebody completely different. Who is this guy? I'm going to put a picture up of him. And then I'm also going to try to right now remember what the fuck I saw this guy in. What the fuck is this guy in? I know him from a bunch of stuff. Oh, well, you know what he plays? He plays Luna Lovegood's father in Harry Potter. That I know. He definitely played that character. Lucifelius, or whatever the fuck his name is. Lovegood. That wacky guy. That's the actor I'm talking about. That guy. Yeah. Not the other guy. Whatever. They rounded out their cast, like main cast. Now they have their main cast complete. Also in casting news, Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon casts Lily Gladstone. I think I know her from... She's in Billions. I know her from Billions, the TV series. Billions. So yeah, she's the only other person so far to join that cast, which is alongside Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. True Lies reboot from James Cameron coming. I think... Is it a TV series? Yeah, it's a TV series. James Cameron is going to be a part of it, too. Interesting. The Last of Us. This was the big thing that I posted. So on Screen Preach, follow at Screen Preach. The Last of Us TV series at HBO by Craig Mazin has officially cast its lead roles. It casts Joel and Ellie. It casts two Game of Thrones actors in the lead roles. One is, of course, the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal, is playing Joel, and his daughter Ellie is being played by Bella Ramsey, who played Lyanna Mormont in Game of Thrones. That badass little girl who made everybody go whoa when she started talking in every scene, because like, holy shit, she's not to be fucked with. She's playing Ellie. So they have their main cast for The Last of Us. Very, very cool. Very exciting stuff. Still want to play the games. Yeah, I haven't even played the games because I have an Xbox and their PlayStation. So one day I will have a PlayStation and I will play the games. But yeah, still going to watch the show. The Powerpuff Girls live action series is coming. I saw that. Remember that show? That was one of the ones I grew up with. Cartoon Network. What else? Anything else? No, not really. The big thing we wanted to talk about, obviously, was this crazy shit that just went down this week, okay? Lucasfilm fired Gina Carano, who plays Cara Dune on The Mandalorian. So she will not be coming back for season 3 or any other season. She is out. And it's because of things she said on Twitter about, she basically compared being Jewish in Nazi Germany to being Republican today. Kind of a big stretch there, Gina. Big stretch. And look, I'm going to say this. It comes as a shock to me, cancel culture in general, that you can fire someone for their freedom of speech. It's almost like, to me, it's like almost wrongful termination, and it blows my mind that it's even allowed. But with that being said, Gina, really, it's a little bit crazy to say that, and you're a star, so your voice carries. So you should maybe think about what you're actually saying before you say it. Even if you had some good points, she makes some good points, I will say. Just because you are ostracized these days for being one thing or the other, if your political views and shit like that. It's a very weird time in this country. And cancel culture continues to be not a solution to things, but more just more of a way to stir up conflict, in my opinion. Not exactly the way things should be handled. It's just a shame in general that character has to now not exist. But whatever, let's move on. Yeah, well, that's the news of the week right there. And we can move on to our analysis. I did watch a very interesting and very, very good movie called Let Him Go. And it is something you might not even know exists. It was under the radar. It came out in theaters and now it's out. You can watch it. It's on Apple, so you'd have to rent it or buy it or whatever. But that is what we're going to talk about. And let's just right off the bat, some one-liners. A lot of things just resonate. It's a heavy movie. It's a heavy family drama that just hits. It slaps, yeah, slaps. and I'm gonna talk about it. Like, there's a line in the movie where Kevin Costner says to Diane Lane, Kevin Costner's character George says to Diane Lane's character Margaret, sometimes life is just a list of things you've lost. Heavy. Seriously, pretty heavy sometimes. Right off the bat, talk about the structure or like just the stakes and the writing of it. And I will say that the pacing of the film is just fantastic. Okay, it's really good. We move from one thing into the next pretty flawlessly. The stakes are set up. The story moves forward with each new scene. Everything that happens gets us to the next thing nicely, smoothly. The opening of the film really sets up the theme nicely as we are shown family values and family traditions. The lightness of family, then contrasted with the darkness of life, right? The inciting action being the death of their son. Immediately, that's followed by a key plot moment as their daughter-in-law remarries. But also subtly other forms of conflict like the overprotectiveness, which can come off as overbearing nature of Margaret, right? Come into play. She butts in to do the baby's bath, and it foreshadows her possessiveness of her grandson. And subtly maybe her thinking that she's a better mother than the mother herself is, which is something that it's a conflict between them that needs to be worked out in the story, which they do get to. Of course, there's a greater conflict and a true start to this story. Lorna's new husband is an abusive person, and when we learn he took Lorna and Jimmy and ran off to another state with them, we worry as much as our main characters worry, because we don't want to see that kid in a bad environment. So immediately we care and we're invested in this story. The ambiguity of it is important too. Why exactly did they leave? We don't know for sure. So immediately we have questions, and we need to know what the fuck happened here and why they left. And it only gets worse when we learn things too. It gets scarier for the kid as we learn things. The stakes build nicely. So that bath scene in the beginning does foreshadow the conflict of motherhood that will come up between Margaret and Lorna later. There's a nice healing moment between them later. George, played by Kevin Costner, is a stern and humble man, but it's Margaret who keeps the fire stoked in this family. She's the real presence on the screen, honestly, in my opinion. Overall, the stakes are set up nicely, and the intense, dramatic family themes shine through. The internal messages resonate. They resonated with me long after I watched it. My dad saw the movie first months ago when it was in theaters, and he told me you got to see it, and I finally saw it, and so we talked about it, and it did just keep resonating with me afterwards. What I most enjoyed about the film is that it was coming off as a typical kind of family drama, right? Centered around more grounded home life conflicts and problems and whatever, right? But this theme of home kind of expressed in an interesting way, right? We have these two loving grandparents representing the idea of home, right? Home is wherever they are. They kind of embody the presence of home, right? And so it actually also becomes like a journey film, which I didn't expect. These two main characters go on a journey to reunite with somebody, and I like that. Also, even though this is based on a book, there are a lot of great film conventions present. Even the typical, you don't introduce a gun in Act 1 unless it is going to show up again in Act 3. We literally have a gun introduced to us in Act 1, or it might be on the edge of Act 1 and the beginning of Act 2. And so if written properly, it better come back around and be of use, and of course it does. I knew the conflict of their age would come into play too, which I might mention is important for films in general. To have films about older protagonists, because there is like an ageism going on right now in storytelling, and so a movie about older protagonists is an important thing. And this is a good point in the story too. George is in pain, right? He's having lost his son. Doesn't want to get close to anybody. He almost doesn't want to get close to his grandson. He's pushing away because he doesn't want to hurt again. And he makes a good point about being old, right? He says raising a grandkid means eventually he wants to. What did I write there? Raising a grandkid means eventually you want to have them around as long as kids would want the grandparents to be around as long as a parent. And also the very fact that being older makes it harder to deal with younger men, especially bad younger men. So like that's what this conflict sets up nicely. Is this obviously the threat of these younger bad men is going to be hard for Kevin Costner, even though he's an ex-sheriff, to handle, right? Um, what else? What else? He makes a good point about being old that I liked. Um, the title comes into play thematically and effectively really nicely. I liked it. Let him go. It's about letting go of the loss they've had, the loss of their son, and in a way, their grandson. They have to debate letting him go too, at multiple times in the film. We of course don't want them to let him go because we see the environment Jimmy's in and we want him out of it, especially as we keep learning how bad it actually is to like be around these wee boy figures. This wee boy family is not good. It's bad. Another thematic thread that's pulled on is how men treat women, and this is like at the center of it, right? The story takes place in the 60s. So not a good time for the way women were getting treated by certain men. But it's still an idea that's relevant today because this is still something that happens, right? And at the end of the day, there isn't a man weaker on this planet than one who puts his hands on a fucking woman. And that is the damn truth, right? So that really hit home with this story too. Family is the main theme, and that's why the contrast of one with strong values and one with chaotic values comes into play. I like the family dinner. We literally have we have a family dinner scene with two family dynamics, which I fucking loved. It like totally embodied that idea perfectly. And once we meet the wee boys, they are a lot to take in. And overall, the arcs are impactful. The dynamic we suspected between Margaret and Lorna comes around again. Their moments of healing is important. The arc of a long and loving relationship between George and Margaret reaching a new chapter. And to have that moment between them right before a really fucked up moment where George gets his freaking fingers chopped off. And then the contrast of environment too is represented with the cop figure we get. The cop is as fucked up as the wee boys. Clearly, almost paid off. It's just you get more angry as this goes on. You want things to you want them to just go and take that kid out of there. Gladstone, the town, is literally the antithesis of like a peaceful and heavenly place for this kid. And so, of course, we come to the theme of right and wrong, always, with stories like this, good and evil. This film does a good job of making us hate the antagonist so much, and it only makes us root for our main characters more. With that being said, do you want villains like that? Sometimes you don't want villains like that where you can't empathize with them, and I thought that's what we were getting, 100%, until we get that moment with, the main wee boy, the one who marries Lorna. I forget his name. But we kind of see that he's been abused too. Like the way that his mother controls him in that scene where he chops George's hands off. I kind of, for a moment there, felt for him a little tiny bit, just because it's like he clearly was raised in this shitty environment too, and he's a product of it. So it kind of helped the villains a little bit with their arcs, but we hate them enough. We want them to just want them done and gone. We want our main characters to just go in there and save Lorna, save Jimmy. And but it's gonna take a fight to release the tight clutches this place has on Jimmy. There's a powerful end to the second act, where there's an actual debate of whether or not letting him go would actually be safer for him. But in the end, they can't just add. They can't add Jimmy to the list of things they've lost. Going back to that line. And so the third act is all about the fight, right? Both George and Margaret have to find their old youthful spirits, right? This cowboy sheriff and this rebel rider kind of figures, right? George goes in as that old sheriff type figure to save the day. Margaret gets on the horse and rides off. It's all embracing this youthful energy to save the day. Um, Costner and Lane do a fantastic job of capturing these final moments in an action-filled climax that made me really kind of the climax too. I upped my rating of the film overall because I really enjoyed it. In the end, George knew, right? He knew if Margaret was going to have to add another loss to her list, it better be him and not Jimmy. So sacrifice, the final theme thrown at us. In the end, it's George she has to let go of. His sacrifice expressed enough how much he too really wanted Jimmy back, right? Because there was this arc for him, like not wanting to get close, and then in the end, he just shows how much he cares by sacrificing himself. He literally died to make sure Jimmy was safe. Powerful movie, very powerful. Costner and Lane, their performances, awesome throughout the film. But I want to give a shout out to Leslie Manville, who plays Blanche Weeboy. She was terrifying and brutal, and it was really good performance on her part. She was the perfect villain. Pretty much like the contrast to Margaret. So you want that. Margaret's kind of like the main character. The antagonist should be like a direct contrast, right? Other things that stood out to me, I wanted to just real quick say, if this felt familiar to some people, the younger audiences and whatever, I remembered that Costner and Lane actually both played Clark Kent's parents in the Man of Steel Superman movie in 2013, right? I forgot about that, but they were the parents, Costner and Lane. They were Jonathan and Martha Kent in Man of Steel. That right off the bat, I felt that familiarity. So they've worked together before, obviously. But what's my rating? My overall rating is an 8.6 out of 10. This is a great movie. Not even just a good movie. This is a great movie. Definitely want to go check it out. I'll definitely be watching it again in time. And, you can find it now on Apple. That's where it is right now. Probably on DVD, too. People still do that. Blu-ray. I props if you do, too. I love that. I need physical copies. The more I think about it, I got this big ass collection, but it's all digital. I got like 600, almost 700 movies. It's all digital though. I should have physical copies, like a full collection. And one day when I have millions of dollars, I'll buy them all again, physically. Physical copy. I don't know. Yeah. Let's do our fun fact of the week. Did you know that in the 1965 classic The Sound of Music, which originally had a lackluster title called Love Song, writers originally ended the musical with the family being held in a detention center on Ellis Island. In early drafts, a fictional concert manager for the Von Trapps convinces the immigration authorities to release Maria after hearing how wonderfully she can sing. That was the original ending to The Sound of Music. Needless to say, the ending we get is much more impactful. Classic. Question of the week. Last week I asked who was your favorite movie villain of 2020, and I said it was Black Mask from the Harley Quinn movie. This is what everybody else said. Black Mask definitely was up there on the list, right? Ewan McGregor was just fucking in that movie. Really, he was a fucking prick in that movie, man. So he was definitely top for me. I like how on this list it's I like how what's her name from The Invisible Man? Why is she a villain in this movie? Is it because she becomes a villain at the end, kind of by killing him? I wasn't 100% on why she's the villain. Or maybe I'm reading it wrong and because he was the villain. He was terrifying. Did I read it wrong? I don't have the list in front of me. It's right there for you. So is it the other way around? It should be the Invisible Man is the villain? Because honestly I forgot about that's number one. Whatever. Moving on. I could have sworn it said she was the villain. And if it does, that doesn't work for me. She's the hero, definitely. Yeah. So this week, we'll do something a little interesting. Who is your favorite actor that defined a decade? So like, who was the best of the decade? Who defined a decade, and who's your favorite that defined a decade? So you got like the obvious people like Brando, Pacino, DiCaprio, right? For me, it's DiCaprio. I grew up with DiCaprio influencing. He's the guy who defined all the modern day movies for everybody. He's the guy, DiCaprio. But Brando and Pacino are my other favorites. So also I would pick those guys. You can, obviously, if Robert De Niro's on your list, that makes sense too, because Robert De Niro is the greatest, in my opinion. He really, just the roles, The reason I don't, when people ask that, the reason I don't say Brando is because his filmography is a lot less. I'm not saying he's not great. He's amazing. He is top. Like you could, Brando's the best, or De Niro's the best. It's just look at the roles that De Niro has done. It's insane. It's insane, and he captures every character to a T. So that's why I always say De Niro's the greatest of all time. He's the GOAT. But that doesn't mean he's my favorite. My favorite is actually Pacino, honestly. Anyway, moving on. Movie quote of the week. What's this from? I couldn't find one with the theme this week, really. I tried, but this is a little bit, little tiny, whatever, but what is this from? How about I give you a full-on hint, too? But you have to see, this is before I cut it for the Instagram, so you're going to have to have watched the episode to know the hint. It's a Coen Brothers movie. Alright? If he's not in a shallow grave between here and Fort Smith by now, he's gone. Long gone. He has barked and the birds have flown. Lucky Ned and his cohort gone. Your $50 gone. Gone the whiskey. Seized in evidence. The trail's gone cold if there ever was one. I'm a foolish old man who's been drawn into a wild goose chase by a harpy in trousers and a nincompoop. You, sister, may go where you like. Our engagement is terminated. I bow out. Name that movie. What's it from? Kind of messed it up in the beginning a little bit, but whatever. And it's not complete either. It's not the whole thing, but it's like the main parts of it. I always want to do the really fun quotes. I don't know if I picked one this week. I didn't. Whatever. I didn't have anything for caught my attention. Didn't see anything. Maybe I did, but I forgot to remind myself. So that is the episode this week. Go follow the show at Scream Preach. Follow me personally at the Ben Morganti. No, it's not. It's DeBenji, at DeBenji. Check out my website, benmorgantistory.com. There's 7. This is number 8. Yeah, I'm working on number 8. Having a lot of fun with it. There's 7 projects up there for people to read. You know, and then a bunch of shorts and a couple other little things. Definitely go check it out. It's also where you can find my Patreon. So that is where you will find the Patreon link. And subscribe to BMS Studios on YouTube to be able to watch this. If you want to watch it, you can listen on Apple Podcasts. And that is our show this week. Come back next week. I have a whole list of things. I'm probably going to do something from Netflix next. HBO Max keeps coming out with stuff, but we'll see what I pick. And definitely come back and check it out. And that is our episode this week. And thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Have a cinematic week.